Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Lanzarote News. And this week we've got sad news about a British cyclist who died here. We're going to talk about a fire that took place in Playa Blanca. We're going to discuss cruise visitors and how many we had in January on the island, as well as lots more. And remember to stay tuned until the very end when I share with you 3 things you could be doing next week. In fact, there's a bit of a bonus because one of them happens 3 times. So you're actually going to get 6 things you could be doing on the island next week. And people often ask me what the weather's like here. Well, I've just flipped the camera for you, and that's the view that I'm looking at. Isn't it beautiful? Absolutely perfect blue sky and not a cloud in it. So let's kick off and talk about cruise passengers. January, the number of cruise passengers that arrived on the island in the port of Arrecife was an increase of 28.5% on the same month last year. Around 92,000 passengers docked in Arrecife in January, so it was a record month. And last year, of course, was a record year for cruise passengers, so it's a really good start from that point of view. And while we're talking about ships and harbours, we'll discuss the fire that took place in Playa Blanca this week. Now, it looked pretty spectacular. The photos showed big black plumes of smoke on the harbour dock area in Playa Blanca. In fact, the fire actually took place right on the end of one of the piers, and the reason for the intense black smoke is that it was an area where there was quite a bit of waste diesel and oil and stuff like that. So the fire was never really life-threatening or that dangerous, but it certainly looked that way from the photos that I saw. And while we're talking about Playa Blanca, the beach at Playa Flamingo was closed this week. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the island has a team of inspectors who go around all the beaches here regularly, and they test the water, and they're looking for the appearance of algae, the appearance of jellyfish, also testing for bacteria. And the beach at Playa Flamingo was closed because there was an excess of a certain type of bacteria there. I like the fact that the beaches are regularly checked, and I like the fact that they never hesitate, they being the authorities, to close a beach if they detect anything out of the ordinary. Usually within a few days the beach reopens and everything's back to normal. Playa Flamingo, I don't know how well you know it, but it has 2 breakwaters that go out to sea, and they have a very narrow opening at the end of them, and I think that beach is more susceptible to these things because the tide doesn't flow in and out of it as often as it does on many beaches. But rest assured that it won't be reopened until it's safe to do so, and hopefully that will be today or tomorrow. Now, we have news of a couple of well-loved events coming up on the island that we're pleased to announce the dates of for you in this news bulletin. And the first is an event called the Cheese and Goat Fair. Now, regular visitors to the island might remember that this used to be a staple that took place every year in Playa Blanca, and it's really a celebration of all things to do with cheese here, and obviously most of the cheese here comes from goat's milk, hence the name Cheese and Goat Fair. Now, the last one of those that ran was in 2019. Obviously there wasn't one in 2020 because of the pandemic, and it hasn't been back since. But the good news is that it's going to be back this year for the first time, and the venue has been moved. It's been moved to Yaiza, which I actually think is a good shout because Yaiza is the municipality capital of the area where Playa Blanca is, but it's also a more rural area and the site of some of the best cheeseries on the island. That's going to be taking place on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of May in Yaiza. Entry is going to be completely free of charge. We don't have any details of the programme, but in previous years there have been all kinds of events around it, music events and cookery events and tastings and so on. And as soon as we've got all of that info, we'll put it onto the Lanzarote information website, so just search for Cheese and Goat Fair. And the other much loved event I want to mention is the Wine Run, and we now have the date for that. That takes place this year on the 15th of June. And for me, it's one of the best, the very best events on this island, because anyone can take part. You can do, if you're fit, you can do a 23-kilometre run. For the less fit, you can do a 12-kilometre run. And for the unfit, there's a 12-kilometre walk on the same route. And the way it works is that you all arrive in Uga in the morning. Buses then take you to your relevant start line, and then you walk or run back to Uga. Now, a few things to think about here. The walk or the run goes through some of the most spectacular regions of the wine region in La Heria. And these are places you can't normally go to. You're not allowed to walk on them. So you'll be seeing places that most tourists never get to see. But also along the way, you'll find musicians. Wineries tend to open up and they put little wine tastings out for people. Also water, and in some cases a little tapa or two to keep your energy up as you make your way towards Uga. And then at the end of it, you'll have the mother of all parties. The party in Uga is always great, with loads of live music, and all of the best restaurants on the island have stalls there where they will be showing off their culinary skills, and you can buy glasses of wine, you can buy tapas of food for tickets that are €1 a piece. So that's taking place on the 15th of June. Registration is now open, so if you go to our website, Lanzarote Information, you'll be able to see the link to use to book your place on the walk or the run. And if you don't want to do either of those and you just want to go and enjoy the party afterwards, you can do so. Just make your way down to Uga on the afternoon of the 15th of June. Julie and I have already signed up for the event, so we'll be there, and we'll look forward to seeing some of you there as well. And those of you who visit Playa Blanca regularly will know that the Spa supermarket, which is on the corner right by the roundabout at the entrance to town, on the corner of Calle Limones, that's been closed for some time, and they've had a full refurbishment there, and it reopened this week. And I gather that they now have a proper butchery counter there, as well as a charcuterie counter where you can buy your cold meats, hamon, and all that kind of charcuterie type of stuff. So that's opened, and I've heard from a friend who's already been to it, who said it's really good and much better than it was before. Are you enjoying this video? In which case, can I ask you please to give us a like? It really helps us to extend our reach with these weekly news videos. And have you got a question or a comment? Put it in below, and I'll be happy to read every single one of them, and I will always answer your questions. So if you've got a general question about Lanzarote, sports events, music events, anything really relating to the island, I'm more than happy to answer it. So pop the comment in below. Thank you for watching. Now, I mentioned at the top about the British cyclist who died on the island, and this was a bit of a sad story. He was found on the road that runs down from Mala to Charco del Palo. He was a tourist on the island, just checking his age. He was 55 years old, out for a ride on his own, and he'd left his partner at the hotel. He was found by a passerby, a hiker, and he called the emergency services, but all they were able to do when they arrived was to confirm his death. We don't have a definitive answer to this yet, but it just does sound like he succumbed to natural causes, perhaps a heart attack, got off his bike not feeling very well, and just passed away on the spot. So our thoughts are with his partner, who I believe is still on the island, and anybody who knew this man. It's a very sad story. And on the weather front, we had a yellow warning at the start of this week for some rain and some very big waves, and this was because of a storm quite a long way from here, but deep out into the Atlantic, the edge of which caused this bit of rain that we had, and the big rollers that that arrived on the island on Tuesday. It only lasted a short time, and in fact the rain wasn't even enough to stop me having to water the garden the next day. And in fact the weather, apart from Tuesday this week, has been absolutely beautiful. We were out on a hike in Ursula last Sunday. We've been out and about in Arrecife and Playa Honda and Puerto del Carmen the latter part of this week, and it's been absolutely beautiful here. For those who want to know, daytime temperatures are kind of in the region from 22 to 25 degrees, and at night it's falling to about 15. And the final news item before I tell you about the 3, or in fact in this case 6 things you could be doing next week if you're on the island. Bodega El Grifo is 250 years old. Now that makes it obviously the oldest winery in all of the Canary Islands, but it's also the 10th oldest winery in the whole of Spain. So they're having a lot of celebrations through this year. If you've never been there, it would be worth visiting the winery to see and taste some of their wines and perhaps buy a few of them. Not many people know this, but El Grifo's Semi-Dulce Malvasia wine was actually Cesar Manrique's very favourite wine. And he designed the original label for it for them, and used to regularly be seen popping in and coming out with cases of wine to take to his home in the early days in Taiche and in his latter days here in Aria. Well, that's it on the news front this week. Let's move on to the 3 things that I would suggest you do if you're here on the island next week. Now, for the first of those, I'm going to suggest you do something in relation to Arrecife Carnival. Now, it is carnival season here. It runs from this week until the 29th of March. It starts off in Arrecife, and there's days between now and the 3rd of March. There's something going on every single day in Arrecife. After Arrecife, it then goes round to each of the municipalities on the island, which each have a carnival parade and various other events. And the last one is going to be in Playa Blanca on the 29th of March. But let's talk about this coming week and Arrecife Carnival. There's something going on every single day, so take your pick. Visit any one of these if you want to. I've got a little list here. The 23rd of February is going to be the Kids Carnival Day. So if you've got children with you, they might enjoy that. There's kids parties going on, there's face painting and all kinds of stuff taking place in Arrecife. The 24th and 25th of February are Murga Day. Now, Murgas are sort of singers and chanters that go along with Carnival. So they'll be performing on the 24th and 25th of February. The 26th of February, it's Comparsa Day. The comparsas are dancers, the dancers you see sort of, twirling and strutting their stuff in Carnival. So that's on the 26th. And on the 27th, it's the Sovereign of the Gala event, Sovereign of the Carnival Gala, I should say, which is a really big event here. It used to be the Queen of Carnival and the King of Carnival. It's now the Sovereign of Carnival. So that takes place on the 27th of February. So there's something for everyone taking place over the next week relating to Carnival in Arrecife, and I'd recommend you go along and enjoy one of those. Now, secondly, we have a plethora of English language films showing at the cinemas in Arrecife, at Charco San Ginés, and at Dayland. Now, we went to see the Bridget Jones movie on Friday night in Arrecife, and it's a good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the soundtrack is excellent. That's not on next week, but you do have a choice of 3, which is unusual. I remember a time when we used to get 1 a month. Now we've got 3 English language movies in a week. And they are Captain America, Paddington in Peru, and Firebrand. One interesting thing when you go to the cinema, it's really useful if you are learning to speak Spanish, because although the soundtrack is in English, you get Spanish subtitles underneath it. And we had some friends with us last night who are learning Spanish, and they said how useful they found it, being able to follow the movie and hear what's being said, but also read the words in Spanish at the same time. So do one of the movies next week while you're here and check out the experience. Personally, I prefer the cinema in Arrecife because you're there on Charco San Ginés and you can just walk straight out of the cinema, having eaten your popcorn, and go and have a beer and a tapa or two in one of the many restaurants around the Charco. And finally, for things to do next week, on Friday the 28th, there is a festival of classical music, or part of the Spring Festival of Classical Music is taking place in El Fondeadero, which is the little kind of civic centre down in the harbour in Puerto del Carmen, completely free of charge. This particular event this week features 2 violins, a trumpet player, clarinet, piano, and somebody called Concepcion Lopez, who is the master of ceremonies, or madam of ceremonies, I guess. So that's on Friday the 28th at El Fondeadero. I'm just going to check the start time for you, and it's not, there it is, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in Puerto del Carmen, so a bit more highbrow, but a bit of classical music for you to enjoy in the harbour. And once again, from El Fondeadero, you can walk straight across the road to any one of the excellent restaurants that are all the way around the harbour in Puerto del Carmen. Well, thank you to those of you who've come all the way to the end of this video. And I've got a quick question for you, and if you don't mind, just answer it in comments for me. How are you finding these? Am I pitching it right in terms of the amount of news we're putting in? Is the production okay? Do you like the thumbnails we're producing? We've changed them over the last week or so. I welcome any feedback, good or bad, just let me know, because I'm very much learning. I think I'm pretty good at the writing side of things after all these years on Lanzarote Information, which we've been running since 2008. But I'm a comparative newbie when it comes to YouTube. And I know that some people are giving me very good and helpful advice. So just pop a comment in below and let me know if I'm doing things that suit you, or if there are things that you would add, or things that you would take out of what we're producing on these weekly videos. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And that's it for this week. Thank you so much once again for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday with a video, Thursday with a video, and next Saturday with the weekly news, as always, from your favourite island. Bye for now from Lanzarote. Bye.